Okay guys, we're gonna go straight into the video. So, the first out of all the characters we're gonna talk about is Sonic. So first off, Sonic has the Insta Shield from Sonic 3, but it kinda got nerfed. Sonic has the Air Dash, and it's not the homing attack, it's just the Air Dash, so it leaves you vulnerable to enemies. And all the characters have an attack, but Sonic's attack is like one where he like flips on the ground and he can damage enemies with it. But the sad thing though is that there's no insta shields in this game. I mean, there's shields, but they don't really give you any powers. And you can only use them as Sonic back in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. While Sonic Advance tries to innovate classic Sonic gameplay, it also removes some of the stuff. But some of it's not really that big of a deal. So that's good. Or just fine in general. So in that first playthrough, I think most players would go for Sonic. But the attacks I said earlier with Sonic, you can actually do some pretty good stuff with these. I mean, they may have come up as useless, and they kind of are, but you can kind of use them to your advantage. So when you use these attacks, you can stop to a standstill, and you can just do a spin dash. So it's technically like an insta spin dash from Sonic Generations, or Sonic Adventure. Sonic's animations, the sprite work for all the characters, well, all the characters' animations look really dang good in this game. Like, I don't even know how they got this running on the Game Boy Advance. And now, we're gonna go through the second playthrough that you're probably gonna see next, which is Tails. So Tails basically has the same abilities as Sonic, but he can fly, and he has a swipe attack, which is pretty cool, and it was from Sonic Adventure 1, so a little reference there. I mean, you couldn't do it in Sonic Adventure 2 because Tails is in the mech, and also in Sonic Movie 3, it's going to be referencing Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic Movie 3 is going to come December 20th, and this game also came December 20th, so that's kind of funny. And another fact is that this game came 10 years after Sonic the Hedgehog 1. So it was technically another celebration, so it wasn't just Adventure 2, but I don't think they really called this a celebration. I think they just decided to just make a 2D Sonic game. But anyways though, I do really like playing as Tails as, well, a second playthrough, or in general. And speedrunning is not only for Sonic, you can also do some good speedrunning attempts as Tails, and you can skip some big parts in the level. Tails, well, underwater, when he jumps, well, flies, he can actually just swim, well, do a swimming animation, and that's a nice touch, because in Sonic 3, Tails also had the animation, so I really like how this game, like, tries to stack itself with the classics and the modern games. But to be honest though, there isn't really that much to say about Tails, and well, even though he was a character in Sonic Adventure 1, he didn't really work in that game because the game was in 3D and Tails can easily break stages. But in this game, it wasn't really the case because it's 2D. But now we're going to look at Knuckles. And Knuckles plays the exact way as he did in Sonic 3K. The only different thing is the attacks, because every character has them. And his attacks are actually way more interesting than all the other characters, because he actually does like his punch attacks, which is pretty dang cool. And to be honest, I think people underrate Knuckles in this game, because he's pretty fun to play as. I mean, the sad thing about the level design in this game, though, is that it doesn't really take advantage of the other characters' abilities, so they're more focused on, well, you just playing as Sonic individually, but you have to play this game 4 times to 100% it. But what I'm trying to say here is that Knuckles And Tails and, all the other characters in general don't really have alternate paths. So it's not like designed like Sonic 3K, but it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to have alternate paths. It was just a cool thing that made Sonic 3K's levels really big and expansive. But if they're not gonna have that, that's perfectly fine. But in general though, there isn't like that much to say about Knuckles. He's probably like a character that no one probably played in their first playthrough. But, at least there's a cool thing about him that wasn't in Sonic 3 Knuckles, and that he can actually float on top of water. And when he glides underwater, he actually does like a swimming animation. So that's really good detail that they put in there, and a cool new, ability, I guess. So in general though, I think people underrate Knuckles because I think he's a pretty good character to play as. But now we're gonna move on to Amy, and I have a lot to say about her. Amy is completely different from any other character they play as in this game. So she's different from Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, because those three work pretty similar to each other. But Amy works completely different. Like, at first, she just seems like a horrible character that you would never want to play as. But once you get to play as her a little bit more, she does get a little bit better. You can do other things with Amy that you can't even do with any other character, and it's really dang cool. But there is a lot of things about Amy which would make her inferior to all the other characters. And the thing is that she cannot spin dash, and she can't even roll into a ball, and she can't even jump into a ball. She has to use her hammer, and her playstyle is basically from Sonic Adventure. But I do think it's a little bit better in that game, because when you hit your hammer on springs, she goes way higher than any other character, and that can make some speedrunning opportunities, and that's really good in a playstyle to make it really different from each other. But I do think that all the playstyles in this game are pretty good in general, and I wouldn't mind playing as any of them. But Amy's probably my least favorite. But now we're going to talk about the zones. Neo Green Hill is just a normal Green Hill level, but it is based on a beach, so it's kind of like Green Hill from Sonic 1 and Sonic Adventure Emerald Coast had a baby. So both of those levels are pretty great, so that's why I like Neo Green Hill, and I'll definitely replay over a lot of the other levels in this game. So probably one of my favorite zones, but it's not really that unique, to be honest though. But there are a lot of secrets in this level. And Secret Base is another good one. This level starts like this, and you'd think that this whole level just has you zipline through like an outside space, but then you go into the secret base, and this level looks pretty dang good. Like, there's like a lot going on in this level, and even though that might sound bad since this is a Game Boy Advance game, so that screen's like a lot smaller, it's actually pretty fun. Sometimes there are a lot of things where you just like have to stop in order to do this, and it does get annoying just hanging on these like things. I don't even know what they're called. But this is probably the most unique level out of all the other levels in this game. And to be honest, like Act 1 and Act 2 of like all of these zones, like Act 1's just a normal traditional level with some gimmicks, and then Act 2 also has gimmicks, so it's kind of like Sonic 3K, but all the gimmicks don't collide on each other. I think they're just specific for that certain level. But sometimes the other gimmicks from Act 1 make a return in the second act. So I think that there's just a lot of good references in this game. So it's kind of like Sonic Pocket Adventure, where, well, the game's basically just Sonic 2, but references a lot of other Sonic games, or just the classics in general. And then, I forgot this level was called, and this level is just a pinball level, because they're basically in every 2D Sonic game at this point. And Sonic 2 was first introduced, and Well, I actually think that the pinball, the carnival, or whatever levels are actually pretty good, and the one in Sonic Advance here is actually pretty fun. There's like a lot of unique stuff. There's just a lot of good stuff in this pinball level, and it's probably one of my favorites in the series. So the devs did a good job here. This is probably one of the best looking levels in the game, and probably the only level that has like a lot of fun gimmicks, just like this one. Or, well, a lot of the gimmicks are fun, and Act 2 adds a lot more stuff. And the reason why I didn't talk about the bosses in these zones yet, because I'm going to talk about the bosses later. And just for a hint for later, they're not really some to like write home about. They're just 2D Sonic bosses, but I'll explain more about it later. There's also Ferris wheel platforms that you can jump on, and there's spinning wheel things. But now we're gonna check out this snow level here. I forgot what it was called. So this is probably the most ununique level in the game, and it doesn't have to be unique for it to be good, because there's like New Green Hill Zone, and it's just Green Hill Zone, but it has a beach, and that's still a good level. So let's just check out this level, and this level was actually pretty dang fun. I had a good time playing this level. I mean, when I first started playing at Sonic Advance, I thought this level was fine, nothing to write home about, but when I played it more and more, it started getting a lot more fun, and I started going through the top path a lot more and getting better at it. So that's comes with the replayability of any Sonic game. You can just get better, and that's what I really like about these games. And here, Act 2 is mostly filled with water, but it can be avoided, but sometimes you are forced to get in the water, but it's not really that bad. And I'm a person that doesn't really like Sonic water levels, so they did a good job here. And I thought Dimps isn't gonna do good here, because y'all know Dimps' level design. But now we're gonna look at Angel Island Zone, and this level is something. So this zone like focuses on platforming a lot more, and I don't really have a problem with that, but if you miss most of the platforming in this level, there's gonna be a lot of bottomless pits, and there's gonna be a lot of spikes everywhere. There's a lot of poor enemy placement, and it's just really annoying, and I don't get why they just have to put this all over the place. And yes, I know they're trying to like make the level harder, but that's not how you make a level harder. You don't just put, oh, here's a bunch of spikes over here and bottomless pits. You have to actually make the obstacles hard, not just put poor enemy placement everywhere. And in the very beginning of Act 2, you can literally fall in a bottomless pit if you don't hit the clouds, which is really stupid. And plus, this level does not look like Angel Island at all. Like, I don't even know how you can compare this to Angel Island. I mean, it kind of looks like Lost World from Sonic Adventure a little bit. But through every playthrough, it does get a little bit better, but Act 2 especially is not really that good. But the zone does look kind of cool though. This zone also doesn't focus on gimmicks that much, it just focuses on platforming, like I said earlier. But if you play as someone like Tails, the zone would be a lot easier, but since you have to play it 4 times 100% it, if you want to 100% it, then you gotta do this zone 4 times, so with 2x. But we're gonna do Egg Rocket now. This is where things start going downhill, and it already went downhill when we got to Angel Island. So in the beginning of the level, there's like the sunset in the background, which looks really cool, but then you go inside this rocket, and that's where things start going downhill, like I said earlier, because this level is like Wing Fortress Zone, but way worse than that level. Way worse, because in this level you have to climb up, and for Sonic it just doesn't really work because, well, like, he goes fast, and if you like go on these dash pad things, they just sent you the wrong way like Wing Fortress did. So doing this in Sonic Advance with Dimps' level design, there's going to be a lot of bottomless pits everywhere. I mean, this is probably the most standout level in the game, but in terms of like how fun it is and how good designed it is, it's not good at all, in my opinion. I mean, it's cool and different, but just because it's different doesn't mean it's good, because I just find this level to be really annoying, especially on the first playthrough. And even if you play as someone like Tails, you still are gonna like die a lot and have a lot of trouble. So this is probably the level that I replay the least, because this level just takes so long and it's so annoying. And I'm okay with levels taking long, but this one's just so annoying to play through, even when it gets easier after every playthrough. But we're gonna take a look at Act 2 and see if it's any better. And Act 2 is actually better, but it's not really that good still, because this level, if you played this level, you've at least died in this level once, okay? Don't lie, okay? But this level just has a lot of bottomless pits, which is not really that surprising, because this is dim standard, so not that shocking. But like, this level just has a lot of enemy placement everywhere, spikes, you know, what they've been putting around all over the game since Angel Island Zone, which I think is really annoying. And then plus, and I didn't talk about this in the first act, but they put dash pads that like put you in the lower part of the level, and why would you even put those there if it's gonna make it worse for you? Like, I don't get it. It's just really bad design, and I really don't like it. But this act is a lot shorter though, because I think Dimps was running out of time, because this game, I think they're trying to get this game out, so yeah. And then the final zone here isn't really a zone, it's just a boss rush. And they picked the bosses from Sonic 1 and 2, which is the Wrecking Ball boss, and the first boss from Sonic 2, and I think that's pretty dang cool. But, the remixes sound really good. I mean, not something that I'll listen to when I like walk or like ride a bike or something, but this sounds really dang good, and I just really like the remixes here. But there's only 2 bosses here, but then you actually get to the real boss, which is this thing. I don't even know what it's called, and this boss is not really, I mean, it's perfectly fine, not gonna lie. I didn't have that much trouble with this boss, but like, you can't even tell when to like actually hit him, because the game doesn't tell you. You just have to randomly damage boost through him. And if you're playing as Amy in this boss fight, you're done, bruh. You are done. But now, since I'm already talking about a boss right now, we're gonna actually talk about the bosses of this game, and they're not really a bunch to like write home about, because they're just normal traditional Sonic bosses. But some of the bosses get pretty time consuming, because some of them take a really long time, and I'm talking about the boss in the ice level, where her Eggman's like at the top, and you have to go on these like ice things and jump on him, and it takes forever. So you either have to like keep going up in order to breathe, or you just have to drown and keep trying over and over again till you get game over and have to start the whole level again. It's just so annoying. But the bosses of this game are pretty good, and they're perfectly fine. They're harmless, and yeah, they're good, except for a few of them. I'm looking at this boss right here. And you guys really thought I was gonna forget about the true final boss, which is a supersonic final fight. And the weird thing about this game is that you cannot play as Supersonic in the normal levels. Like, why can't we do that anymore? Like, this was in the modern games, and now it's translating into the 2D Sonic games now, which sucks. But I mean, there isn't really that much to say about this fight. It's just a normal supersonic fight. And there's also a Chao Garden, which I would not care about, but for this game, I think it's pretty dang cool. I mean, first off, there's a matching game where like you match cards to get more rings, to get more food and stuff for your chow. And there's also a rock, paper, scissors game, which is basically the same thing. So you can do this if you want, if you come here for only the Chow Garden, which I just played the normal Sonic game. And I did not forget about the special stages, and in this game, they're not good, in my opinion. I mean, they're not like bad, but like, you can't even see what's in front of you. And I can't really blame the game for that because this is on the Game Boy Advance, so I can't really blame it for that. But they could have done it in 2D so it wouldn't be as bad for the invincibility, so you can actually see way more farther. So I don't really like the special stages. And yeah. And there's also a multiplayer in this game, which is actually pretty surprising. I mean, the reason why I say that is because you can literally play up to 4 players. That's insane in my opinion, because I think that like this game is just really good 2D Sonic game, so playing it with friends, family, is just a really good way to spend more time with this game. But it does lag a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm playing with 4 people, or it's just because, well, this is just a Game Boy Advance game, so it doesn't really expect me to play with this much people. But it's still pretty cool to play with other friends and family. And yeah, that's all for today's review. And I really like this game, and I hope you have a good day. Bye. You should play this game.